So let's be honest, the settings on the traditional sonar on your Garmin Echomap UHD can be downright confusing, right? TVG, depth lines, beam width, frequencies. There's a lot of different settings in here that can feel like literally a foreign language. And so good news for you, Daren Wendell here with Wendell Fishing, and I'm gonna kind of walk you through the maze of settings, what they mean, and so you can be a pro out on the water, navigating and deciphering underwater structure and what's down there with ease. Let's go ahead and hop in. So first, let's start off with what traditional sonar is. So Garmin sonar uses a conical shape to emit sound waves into the water, which then bounce back, and when they encounter an underwater objects or fish, these sound waves create echoes that are then interpreted to generate this type of visual display. And there's a variety of different settings in here that you're going to want to use. And first, we're going to start, and how you navigate all these settings, you go down the menu, and first we're going to start with gain. So once you hit the gain, so the gain on a fish finder refers to the sensitivity setting that controls how much the sonar signal amplifies the returned echoes, right? So by adjusting the gain, users can fine-tune the display to highlight targets and details more clearly or reduce clutter and noise. Now, the higher the gain, by moving this up and down, as you can see, the higher the gain settings increases sensitivity, making smaller or more distant targets visible, while lowering the settings reduce sensitivity and minimize false readings and improve the overall image clarity. And so you're going to have to determine for yourself where you like that. Of course, you can go up and down. You can go auto low, auto medium, or auto high, right? Auto high is going to play higher sensitivity sonar returns with more noise automatically, and the medium is going to do that as well. That's going to provide a balanced view of fish and structure. And the auto low is really ideal for more calmer waters, or when you're trying to minimize clutter when that's absolutely necessary. And so that's what you're looking at when you look at gain. Now, when you go back, let's take a look at beam width. And so the beam width here, as you can adjust this as you wish, goes from 24 degrees all the way down to 16 degrees. So the pros of the narrow beams, right, the 16 degrees, is that you're going to have higher kilohertz, right? So this is going to help with better target separation, really distinguishing fish that are closer together. There's going to be less clutter from the surrounding objects. And of course, when you go all the way down, and you can scroll down, now when you go down to 24-degree beam, the pros here, it's going to cover a larger, obviously, area of water, but it's going to be more likely to detect fish in a wider zone. And so if you click on the chirp, I believe it goes to 19 degrees, 186 kilohertz. Yep, that's correct. And so you can adjust this as you like. So that's another one of the settings in here. Next, let's go ahead and go back. You're going to have the zoom. And when you hop into zoom, there's going to be a variety of options here. The one I particularly like is the Magnify, right? And when you set up the Magnify, it's going to give you this box over here, and you can determine the magnification, say you want to see what that is. Now, why I like this, and let's say we're done, I want the Magnify, and I usually sometimes just keep this down here in the left-hand corner unless something comes across my screen over here. And then when I want to see it, you can pause the screen, hitting the pause button, and you can go up and be like, what in the world is that? And you can zoom in and zoom out just like this. And so I like to magnify. You just keep it down here because everything that you're running over starts over and to the right. That's why you saw that A scope a second ago. All right, so let's go ahead and go back into the setting here with zoom. Also, there's something called bottom lock. So bottom lock on your traditional sonar here, this, of course, is going to do exactly what you think it's going to do, right? On your traditional and clear view, or it's going to lock on the bottom. It's kind of nice. Usually if I do the bottom lock, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the split zoom. And what this does is on the left side, it's going to be bottom lock, and you know that because it has BL, bottom lock in here. And over on the right side, it's going to show me the entire water column. On the right side, because I hit the split screen, it's going to show me the water column all the way up to the surface. And so that's why I like, if you're fishing and trying to find fish that are holding tight to the bottom, you might want to try utilizing bottom lock. And if you do, I recommend doing the split screen. And this is kind of interesting, right? It's showing you at 19 degrees, if that's what your angle is on your frequency, it's going to only be showing you a 12-foot circumference on the bottom of the water. And of course, as this gets deeper, this is going to get wider, right? Because you're shooting a longer distance. And as it gets shorter, that 12 feet is going to move like I just did to 11 feet. So interesting there. All right, let's head back. Traditional, we'll go to menu. Now what we're looking at, you can turn on and off your sonar. And so let's say you want to conserve battery for whatever reason, you just don't need it at the moment. You can turn that on and off by toggling that back and forth. And next we have a variety of different things in here on edit overlays. Now, edit overlays, you can have additional overlays on your screen. For instance, in the bottom bar, let's say I had a power pole anchor. And once you go back, you can see this is, I can push up and push down. I can make my anchor go up and down from my screen. But as you notice, when you do that, anytime you put a top or bottom, your screen gets smaller. So I really don't like utilizing that. So let's get back, go into the traditional settings again. And I'm going to basically say none. But if you want the top bar, let's say you are wanting to see a compass. You go up here to the compass tape and go back. As you can see, there's a compass tape at the top. Once again, makes your screen a lot smaller. All right, now as you head up here to the frequency, it's going to be chirp, right? And the frequency and the beam width are going to kind of go hand in hand. So if you change the beam width, the frequency is going to change, right? So that's, right now it's on chirp 19, but if we go in here and we change the beam width to 230 and hit back, you will see that this changed to 230. So if I change this, it's going to change it on the other side. So just keep in mind, these two are kind of connected. So next is your range. Range, I just keep range in auto. So it's just going to always keep the bottom all within one screen. You can adjust this automatically if you want. However, I like to keep that on auto. It's always just going to keep the bottom and the top of the surface all within that screen. Now you can change this if you want, but it's kind of wild and crazy. And I don't want to go in here and keep adjusting it. So I keep that on auto. You can pause the sonar, but you don't have to go into the screen in order to pause the sonar. The beauty of this is that when this is just running, you can go down here to the left hand and just go and hit pause. And so you can just do that from the front of the screen. You don't have to go into a setting to do that. And so if you wanted to pause the screen, be like, wait a second, what did I just run over? You can go up here, and this little arrow thing means, and I believe, I don't use this very often, but if you see something back here and you want to mark this as a waypoint, you go up here to the top right and you can mark that as a waypoint. All right, now let's take a look at sonar setup, and there's a lot of stuff in here and it goes even deeper. So you get your depth lines. Let's go ahead and show the depth line and show you what this is for. So the depth line is a line on the fish finder represents the bottom of the water body, right? It could be a visual representation. It's typically displayed like you see it right here. And what it's for is you can indicate the depth of the water directly beneath the boat or the kayak or whatever it is that you're fishing. It's also a great depth measurement, right? The depth line provides a visual representation of the depth reading, which is usually displayed numerically in the corner of the screen. You can see this 18. So you'd be like, hey, where was that fish that I just ran over just now? If you wanted to, you can go up, instead of guessing, you could be like, oh, that baby's sitting right at 12.9 feet. Good to know. There's another bunching of them right down at 16 feet. Now you can visually do that. If you want to know exactly where they were, you could use the depth line. Now you got on-screen controls, right? And you can choose to have nothing. So let's see what we have now. Right now, we have range. I don't like having range because I have range on auto. And so what I'll do is I utilize this space. So we'll head back and I utilize this space within the sonar setup. And I'm going to put the gain on the front. And so this is going to be nice. This is something I definitely recommend doing. So you don't have to go into settings. You can just kind of increase the gain or decrease the gain from the home screen. I'm going to keep that on gain. Now let's head back to the menu, sonar setup. Next you have overlay data. And so this is a variety of different things you can show on your screen. If you don't want any of that stuff, and the stuff I'm talking about is this stuff up here, 25 feet, the water temp, how fast you're moving, the volts from your battery, and the time. You can go into your menu and you can remove all of those items by adjusting them on your sonar overlay. So I'm going to hide that, GPS speed, hide that, hide, and then when you go back, you can see all that information is gone. But that information to me actually helps me become a better angler. So I actually like to see that. Not quite sure why you'd want that removed. And so I'm going to go back into overlay data and I'm going to add all this stuff back. I like GPS speed, time of day, back, back, back. And as you head back in here, you notice all that is back on the screen, which is good. All right, back into sonar setup. Next, we're going to go into advanced. All right, so advanced. Let me walk you through what all this stuff actually means. So up here in the interference, you click into that. Interference adjusts the sensitivity to really reduce the effects of interference from nearby sources of noise, right? The lowest interference setting that achieves the desired improvement should be used to remove interference from the screen. So correcting installation issues that can cause noise is the best way to eliminate interference, and these are all the settings for that. If you go back, you have surface noise. So surface noise, this either hides it or shows it. So it can hide the surface noise to help reduce that clutter, or wider beam width or lower frequencies can show more targets but can generate more surface noise. And so that's how you would adjust that. Color gain. So color gain, if you want to see the highest intensity signal return on the screen, you can lower the gain or brightness to remove lower intensity returns and noise. And so if you want to see all the return information, you can increase the gain or brightness to see more information on the screen. So this also increases noise and can make it more difficult to recognize actual returns. That's why it's sitting in here into the advanced. Next, we have TVG. TVG adjusts the appearance of returns to compensate for weakened sonar signals in deeper water, and it reduces the appearance of noise near the surface. So when the value of this setting is increased, the colors associated with the low-level noise and fish targets appear more consistent through various water depths. So, and then you got bottom search limit. So this limits the search for the bottom to the depth selected when the range setting is also set to auto. So to minimize the length of time it takes to find the bottom, you can select a depth to limit the search for the bottom. So the device will not search for the bottom deeper than the selected depth. So this adjusts the appearance of returns to compensate for weakened sonar signals in deeper water and reduces the appearance of noise near the surface. So all this stuff, in my opinion, I don't mess with it. It's kind of boring to me, but just so if you ever wondered what that stuff is, that is what it is. Scroll speed. This is something that's actually helpful. Now you can set the rate at which sonar images move across the screen. A higher scroll speed shows more detailed until there's no additional detail to show, at which point it starts stretching out the existing detail. Now this can be useful while moving or trolling, or when you are in very deep water and where the sonar is pinging very slowly. And a lower scroll speeds and display sonar information on the screen longer. So for most situations, the default setting down here, it's going to provide a good balance between quickly scrolling image and a less distorted target. All right, let's head back. Next we have appearance. All right, there's a variety of things in here within appearance. You got your color schemes, and there's a variety of different color schemes, really just basing off a variety of different things, right? So the purpose of the color scheme on the traditional sonar is to enhance the underwater visualization and make it easier to interpret sonar data. And so it helps by a variety of things. Like you can distinguish target density. So different colors represent varying levels of signal strength or target density. For example, strong returns like the bottom or large fish are often brighter colors, while weaker returns like vegetation or small fish are dimmer colors. And so, for instance, my dad's colorblind, so yellow would be terrible. So you just got to pick the color that works best for you. Also, these colors are going to improve the contrast, right? Adjusting the color scheme allows you to increase the visibility in different lighting or water conditions, really helping you identify details more easily. And a lot of this stuff, I'll be completely honest with you, it's personal preference, right? Anglers can choose a color palette that's easiest for them to interpret it based on their vision or their familiarity. That is the settings for that. Next, you have A-scope. And right now it's on, right? You guys saw this over here? That's this thing, this line right here. And if you don't know what A-scope is, A-scope on the fish finder is a real-time vertical display that shows the intensity of your sonar returns in a single vertical column. And it represents the strength of a sonar signal at different depths, with stronger returns appearing as taller bars. And so what this allows you to do, the key features of this, you're gonna get real-time data, right? Provides that instant feedback on targets beneath your boat. It's gonna show you depth tracking. This displays the depth at which the objects and fish are located. Visualization, it's gonna help you identify the size and density of your targets. and no real motion effects. So unlike other sonar views, A-scope eliminates motion blur for precise depth readings. It's especially useful in analyzing fish size and structure composition and really monitoring sonar performance. I am going to, for right now, oh man, this is deep in here, sonar setup. And we gotta go into appearance and A-scope. I'm gonna turn A-scope off. Next is fish symbols. And there's a variety of different fish symbols here. Let me walk you through each one. So this is like Garmin's Fish ID, right? So it's gonna give you 4 different options here, 5, of course, turning it off. And the first option is standard fish symbols. And this is ideal for anglers who want to quickly identify fish without extra information. And with this setting, suspended targets appear as basic fish icons on your screen, making it really incredibly easy to spot fish at a glance. So this is simple, no frills display, perfect if you're just getting started with sonar. I want to focus on finding fish locations quickly. That's that guy right there. So if we head back, I'm going to show you how this is visualized. Boom, fish, fish, fish. Really, really simple. Now, there's some other options in here as well. Next, you're going to have fish symbols with depth information. So if you click on that one, you can go back here and it's going to show next to the fish, of course, the depth of which they're at. So you're like, oh, why wouldn't you use that? You're right, it's incredibly useful when you're targeting fish at specific depths, or just so you can adjust your lure presentation to match where the fish are holding in that water column. Also, let's go back. There's a couple more options here. If you go up here, this is going to show you fish symbols with background sonar. So it's going to give you more context by displaying fish symbols alongside the background sonar data. You're not only seeing the fish locations, you're also getting a read on the underwater environment around them. And so this is going to, boom, show you the arches and the fish within those arches. So that's kind of neat. And the last one is going to be appearance, fish symbols. It is the whole kit and caboodle, right? This is going to show you all 4, right? Comprehensive settings. It's going to give you the symbols, it's going to give you the background sonar, it's going to give you the depth information, all on one screen. This is ultimate view for anglers who want the full understanding of the underwater environment. Now with these, I will say that Fish ID, think of Fish ID icons as a training wheels to dial in how you read depth, size, and identification of the fish you're targeting. And once you don't need assistant features anymore, I would slowly dial them back just so you have the sonar returns. Or you can do whatever the heck you want, right? It's free country. If you like to see them on there, you want to keep them forever. If you wondered how you got there, well, at least you know how you can adjust those. Sonar setup, appearance, and fish symbols. I'm going to turn those off for now. All right, let's head, there's a couple more things in here let's talk about. So let's talk about Edge. Now Edge, let's go and click that on and see what it's doing over here. Edge is going to create this line at the bottom. See that white line running along the bottom here? And so Edge highlights the strongest signal from the bottom to help define the hardness or softness of that signal. Now the purpose of this is bottom composition, right? It helps identify whether the bottom is hard, like rock or sand, or soft, like mud or vegetation, based on the strength of the sonar return. So if you ever wonder what that was, that is what that is. Now, let's head back to appearance. One more, Pic Advance. So Pic Advance is interesting and not something I ever use, but I do want to explain to you what it is. So this allows the sonar picture to advance faster by drawing more than one column of data on the screen for each column of sounder data received. So it's especially helpful when you are using the sounder in deep water because the sonar signal takes longer to travel to the water bottom and back to the transducer. And so let's go ahead. I don't like it because I'll show you how it displays. And so it just makes it a lot more blurry. So not a big fan of that on Pic Advance and not something I utilize because I don't fish deep water. We're talking really deep water. So let's go back. So the next setting we have is Sonar Recording. So all Echomap chart plotters allow for traditional and clear view scanning technology and side view scanning technology sonar readings to be recorded on a micro SD card to be viewed on a computer. And so how you do that is you can go down here, flick that open, there's a little SD card that I can pull in and out. Now, if you have the Garmin Echomap or Ultra series, you're also going to have the side view and clear view, which is Garmin side scan and down scan. If you want me to walk you through all the settings on that one, I got clear view right there, side view right there. Thanks for watching, guys.